explore the topic Dancing the 12 Steps, Part 2, Following, Leading, and Guiding. Creating this two-part mini-series has been such a gift to me. I like to think some or all of you are getting helpful information as well, ideas that you can take with you out into the world and apply in positive ways, even if it's not always the way you might think you would apply it. That's the point, isn't it? These topics have a tendency to mess with the status quo of our thinking, to expose those areas of our mind and life where perhaps we've gotten a little complacent. Maybe we're slipping backwards into old patterns of behavior that no longer serve the person we've become, that we are in this moment. While these topic titles have been selected months in advance, it isn't until a week or so before presenting them that I really start to focus on what the message might be. I start looking around for examples in life that support the message, life experiences that I hope you can relate to. And what do you know? Spirit always provides. As I reflected on each of these terms presented last week, loving, forgiving, and trusting, and in a moment we'll look at following, leading, and guiding. As I thought about what these words mean and how they relate to creating a life, and even more importantly, how they relate to the science mind principles, and having an intimate relationship with God, I can tell you that these words stirred up a lot of things within me, all kinds of ideas and beliefs and fears and resolve. I've been repeating this on these words: loving, forgiving, trusting, loving, forgiving, trusting, on a daily basis, as a reminder that these are my God qualities too. We all have them. Repeating these words, particularly in stressful times and situations, has allowed me to remain more centered, more connected to my God self, to think loving thoughts about people around me who appear to be acting out from some type of fear, to be forgiving of unkind words said about me or the people I care about, and to trust that while I might not see or know what the highest good of a situation might be in that moment, or what the eventual outcome will be, I do trust that whatever is going on, especially those situations beyond my control or influence, that they have a way of working out for good. I believe with every fiber of my being in the law of cause and effect, that whatever energies you put out into the universe on a regular basis, whether visible to the world or from behind closed doors, whatever behaviors you consistently display, whatever thoughts you focus on day in and day out as you deal with people, effects, you get to experience them through the law, effects of your own causes. So for me, it's important to monitor my thoughts, to carefully choose my words, to be a positive example, not only of this philosophy in thought, word, and deed, but as an expression of God, as part of Jan's reading, as a child of the divine. Each time I do that, I get to experience the effects of my efforts, however I may judge them. I get to prove that this stuff really works. I get to teach through example. I get to learn through doing it. And in the same manner, I get to learn by watching others, those around me, who live and go through the effects of their own causes. And I get to see that the law works the same for everybody. It is no respecter of persons. It doesn't care who you are. It works the same for everyone. So how does that fit into today's topic? Let's begin by reflecting back on last week's talk when we talked about dancing lessons. That was kind of fun. Two people are learning the steps to a dance. We'll use a waltz today as an example. The instructor guides the couple about the basics, perhaps places their hands in the appropriate positions, selects the music, provides the dance floor space, and may even count off 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, as the couple begins moving across the dance floor. But wait, the couple forgot to discuss who was leading and who was following. So as the steps begin, there's confusion. Assumptions were made, and now shoes and feet are getting stepped on. Egos are speaking. There's no synchronicity in the movements. Everything is jerky and confusing, misleading. A sense of frustration, irritation has replaced the calming effects of the music. So the instructor guide stops the couple from further injury to one another, puts them back into position, and a decision is made as to who will lead and who will follow. Now, the decision may take a few minutes depending on the personalities of the couple. Perhaps they disregard social custom about the man always taking the lead and the woman following in a dance. What if this couple consists of 2 women or 2 men? Then what do they do? What may have been considered normal dance customs before has new meaning and needs reconsideration. However, once the decision is made as to who is the follower and who is the leader, the dance can continue with less conflict and frustration. In some respects, there's a sense of surrender in choosing the roles for each dance partner. In order for the dance to be expressed, one must surrender to being a follower, and one must surrender to being a leader. And yes, I did say surrender to being a leader. I say this because not everyone's comfortable leading, or even good at it, at least not in every situation. We might think we are, until we're put into a position or accept a role as some type of leader, and we suck at it. We're really bad. And we find out how hard it is, at least at first, until we learn the role, the expectations, the demands, the boundaries, the skills of what being a leader means in that particular position or role. You can be a great leader in dancing, not so graceful at office politics, right? You can be a great leader on a hike or teach rock climbing, giving instruction to dozens of people on each outdoor excursion, and then go out at night to a dance club and be so willing just to follow. You might be a great speaker on Sunday morning, a minister or leader in New Thought, presenting topics without any preparation, no rehearsal, no notes, no outline, not me. And then you find out you really do need to depend at least 90% of the time on your volunteers and your staff to manage your schedule, to do your other tasks. You may be at the top of your field when it comes to doing your work on time, memorizing the principles of your assignments, writing the notes, the papers, and the presentations, and then surrendering the actual presentation to someone else because public speaking just isn't your cup of tea. I'm sure you can think of many other examples where you are both a leader and a follower in various situations. The role I'd like us all to consider is following the divine guidance of universal intelligence, of God. To follow that still small voice, that intuitive knowing toward our highest and best good through life all the time. Science Mind textbook tells us the Spirit of truth will lead us all into good. This is the high road to the fulfillment of our lives. Lead me ever into the paths of perfection and cause me to see only the good. And lead the thought form from where it is into the higher realms of consciousness, where the soul recognizes its own I amness. We have of these directions, one of many guidelines in science of mind literature. Do you surrender to the spirit of truth? Big T. Do you follow and apply universal principles in all your affairs? Are you selective in your beliefs and trust of the divine knowing? In other words, are there times when you know better than God what needs to be done? What are the paths of perfection Holmes is writing about and advises us to follow? And this is not about perfectionism. And what thought are we to lead from where it is? One thing I recognize when talking about leading or following, guiding or surrendering, is that this topic can be a trigger for the human ego. Maggie wakes up, goes on high alert, and might even say, wait one darn minute. I'm the boss of this person. Every other idea or concept, stay the heck out of here. I get to tell her what to do. We have to be able to recognize when we've ruffled the feathers of our ego and be able to discern that voice from the intuitive knowing that always is there, whispering. What will you pay attention to? Especially in those moments of life when it's not always easy. For example, when you're not getting your way, when your perceived or self-appointed leadership is being challenged or disregarded. Or is it your ego's controlling behavior that's being challenged? Can you separate the two? Good questions. And it's helpful to you to know the difference. Let's go back for a minute and try to define some of these terms. What is a follower? What makes a good follower? The key thing we must keep in mind is that a follower, the one that we're talking about, is a volunteer. This follower is not a slave. It's not someone that you can dictate your every whim and demand to and expect that it's going to get done, according to whatever expectations you have in mind or have shared. If that's your idea of a follower, then I strongly suggest you take a look at that. The kind of follower I'm talking about is someone who chooses to be in that role or that position, to support a cause or a leader because they believe in the principles of what they're being taught or what's being shared. Perhaps they believe in the principles of the country or the organization. They are free to walk away at any time. For example, all of us here could be considered followers of the science of mind philosophy. We identify ourselves as religious scientists. We have claimed this as our belief system. We learn and follow the principles it offers. We support the spiritual community by choice. We show up here to connect with other like-minded individuals. And while we freely choose to be here, we also commit to supporting these principles through embodying them in our lives outside the church, to take these messages out into the world. To do it well, we take classes, serve the church as volunteers, support the organization through financial contributions, read the literature, talk with the ministers to gain a deeper understanding of what science of mind means, and how to interpret the teachings, perhaps. We do these things so that we can better determine if we want to continue following this philosophy and being part of this community. The heart of the follower is one of service. It is to be cherished and respected. Whether you consider yourself a follower at this church, or a follower at your job, or a follower of a 12-step group, or a follower in some other craft or endeavor or organization, it is a choice. Followers choose their leaders. Now this puts a big responsibility on the leader of any organization or group in order to attract more followers and to expand their purpose. I'm sure many of us think of a leader, at least I hope many of us think of a leader, as someone who comes from a place of high integrity, high standards of ethical behavior, a love for what they do, a passion for what they teach or the message they share, and concern for who they serve, the followers. Being a leader is also one of choice. Some are drawn to its challenges, while others reject the responsibilities involved. Some people grow into leadership, and through that process expand in consciousness and commitment and confidence and many other qualities. Sometimes we might put on the hat of a leader in one field, find it's not for us, hand back the keys and go on and maybe find it somewhere else. From personal experience, I can honestly say that a person can step into a leadership role knowing only enough to begin it. And if they truly desire to grow, then they can learn what is needed as they go along. There's a quote that goes something like, God doesn't call the prepared, God prepares the called. In September, 2 months from now, I will celebrate 4 years of answering the call as church minister here. I knew just enough at the beginning of this endeavor to step up and answer the call and step into the role as ecclesiastical leader of this church, and then later as its senior minister. It's a choice being here, even as church minister, because there are many ways to serve in a ministerial capacity, to serve this belief system and to teach these principles. As I reflect on my life's purpose, which is to teach science of mind principles, I'm grateful that I get to be the leader of this church, to do it in this manner. It's an honor. It's humbling. And it comes with great responsibility, and I don't take it lightly. I made a commitment to surrender to the Spirit of truth, to focus and apply the universal principles of this teaching in all my affairs, every day, not just on Sunday morning, and not get caught up in the personalities that might detract me from my purpose. I aim to see the good in every situation, regardless of what Maggie might think about it. There are going to be times when it's not appropriate or necessary to give your ego a voice, to share your opinion, or your critique, or your comments. I know how challenging that can be. I'm not always 100% successful at it. So what? Keep at it. Do it anyway. Practice, practice, practice these principles. Whether as a leader or a follower, you might need to go into prayer in the midst of an emotional conversation and check in with God so that the only words that come out of your mouth are loving ones. You may need to lead your thoughts of revenge or victim self-pity or righteous judgment or fear, and lead your thoughts back to your God self and turn them around and replace them with the divine nature, the true spirit of who you are. And no, it's not always easy. It takes constant daily practice and vigilance and rigorous honesty. Like the words in the song, some walls must fall. And the better we get at it, at redirecting negative behavior and thoughts to positive ones, of changing limiting beliefs to positive affirmations, you could be surprised to find that bigger challenges come before you. That's how we grow spiritual muscle. You might start out with a 3-pound problem, and once you learn to effectively and lovingly deal with that, you get to face a 5-pound challenge. When you surmount that one, the next time it might be a 10-pound dispute. And then a 25-pound argument. Until you're facing a 500-pound disagreeable situation, and it's like child's play, because you've built up your muscle. Something I read yesterday stated, a challenge is not the truth. That's by Peter Hirsch in his book, Living with Passion. A challenge is not the truth. I looked it up. A challenge, literally defined, is a demand to explain, justify, or engage in a contest. Do we need to respond to every challenge? To explain or justify to someone? Not necessarily. Do we need to go looking for challenges? It's up to you. I would venture to guess that many human challenges come to us from fear. So do I need to respond to that fear? No. There's a great passage in the Bible from the book of Isaiah that I found inspiring and uplifting. And perhaps you find it useful in times of challenge and confusion. It's Isaiah 41, verse 10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. As long as I'm coming from principle and truth, as long as I'm listening to spirit and not ego, as long as I'm responding with love, I have no desire or interest to actively engage in a contest of defending. The law of cause and effect will reveal everything eventually anyway, whether it's a person's motivation or the why behind a decision. Frankly, there are no hidden agendas in the universe, not for very long. Everything, including a person's motivations, has a tendency to be revealed at some point. There are no secrets from God or the law, so don't live that way. That being said, while we may not actively seek out challenges, they do still show up from time to time, don't they? And they might need to be addressed. Hirsch also wrote, challenge makes you strong by exercising your creative, mental, and emotional muscles. Challenge tones your intuition and imagination, exercises your desire, puts mass on your positive beliefs, trims your fat fears, and adds definition and articulation to your attitudes. Challenges are the free weights you use to build your body of success. We have all had challenges in life, whether they're 2, 5, 12, or 100 or more. We handle them with the skills we have at the time, the awareness that we have at the time, one step at a time, one day at a time. A couple other things to contemplate. The paths of perfection are many and can be fraught with challenges along the way, depending on our perspective of what constitutes a challenge. Have you noticed that? What might bug the heck out of one person, the other person just kind of blows away. How important is it to our growth that we face it, that we take care of it to the best of our ability? Ask yourself, what is my strength? What is my guidance? From where do I seek wisdom? May I suggest this answer? 3 letters. God. As your source of love and power and joy and abundance and peace. All those things we sing about. The divine leader and source of all good. Not your job or your neighbor or your family or your friends. All those other things give you the opportunities to test or challenge how far you've grown or how much more you have to go. How much more, how much farther do you have to go? You, only you and your internal committee determine how to respond, how you select your beliefs, how much you trust in the divine intelligence versus how much you control with your own human thinking. Your thoughts will lead you on whatever path you choose to follow. Holmes suggests we follow the paths of perfection, and that takes practice. That takes being a willing student, maybe a helpful or distant guide, sometimes a leader, maybe your friend, maybe a book, but always being willing to learn, to have the beginner's mind, to be open at the top, to greater awareness and understanding. So finally, here's a message from a recent posting on social media. It's a journey. No one is ahead of you or behind you. You are not more advanced or less enlightened. You are exactly where you need to be. It's not a contest, it's life. We are all teachers and we are all students. And I would add, we are all leaders and we are all followers. Do both from a heart of love and let Spirit be your guide.